really easy. Throughout this workshop, you guys are going to be working on some things to help kind of promote your professional growth, right? So, and certainly things like putting a resume and stuff up in here and all that is going to be really important. Building up your profile on this, think of it as like a LinkedIn, but just for you guys. This is going to expand to all Mission College students in probably towards the end of the semester into next year, but we're in it before anybody else is. We've been kind of working on it. About 4 or 5 of our students have gotten jobs through this already. So no matter what level you're on, because you're part of this workshop, you're going to be in this thing. I was just kind of having advanced students in it just to kind of pilot it. So what's really great is we don't have time today, but I'm going to do a quick demo one of these Fridays coming up when I have a little spot that Terrence can fit me in to show you kind of some ins and outs of how this works, okay? Because it's pretty awesome. There's going to be, it's a really great way to connect with companies, and when you start putting your skills in here, skills that you attain in our classes, those skills are going to connect you directly with companies that are searching for those skills. So let's say you're Morel and you've got video editor, camera operator, colorist, sound, I'm just adding things that he might do, director, producer, blah, blah, blah. Then the companies that are looking for those things, it's almost kind of like a Tinder for job. In fact, the app actually feels like it too. When I first used it, I was like, it's kind of like Tinder. Not that I've been on that, I've been married. but you swipe, you know, you kind of swipe left, swipe right, whatever. You're kind of swiping to kind of figure out, to kind of save jobs or internships into your profile. So you can follow jobs, and it takes you through the steps of kind of applying for them, reaching out to the company, getting ready for the interview, and all the way down. And what's cool is that then I can track your progress in here too, which is really great, because then I know what you guys are doing. If you need any help with anything, we can help you. John Wynn or I, most of you guys know John Wynn too. I had a lot of video and audio people in this class. So, so we'll be able to kind of help and guide you through some of the things as needed as you get, you know, if DreamWorks, you know, has you coming in for an interview, we'll know that because it notifies John and myself, because we're the administrators in this, that Morel's going to go have a meeting with an executive at DreamWorks, right? That's an important thing for me to know that he's doing that, so I can help prep him to do that. So that's kind of another great thing about this that Craigslist isn't doing, right? Or that some of the other, you know, Intuit, some of the other job search things, this is not personalized. So this thing, the more you put in your profile, the more personalized it gets. Now, the non-Mission College students, we'll figure you out later. I'm not saying you cannot do this, but you can only get in through the portal. It's going to ask you a bunch of Mission College questions. So we'll figure that out down the line. I'll have to put my head together with Jarlath, the guy who owns the company, and I'll say, well, what if they're not Mission College students? And we only have a few, so it might be easy. We don't want you to miss out on this too, right? For the non-people, there's a few. This is Sophia Hernandez. She works on the grant that's helping provide this workshop for you guys for free. Sophia is kind of the administrator on that grant. And Sophia, you have a sign-in sheet for them all too. Even though he took roll, you might be able to just come and go right off her.
I can actually, I'll make sure. So I had everybody's name and email address here.
If you want to pass it around, it might be kind of good for our records to have on.
Sure. And I'll make sure you're included on this link. So
that'd be good.
Yeah.
So Sophia can be on there. Actually, it's kind of good for you guys to have just a how many people are like, hey, Kevin.
Hey, go. All right.
Is there another open seat crowd?
Oh, there's one right there.
So, yeah.
And that's Alex.
Yeah. Alex is one of our students.
I remember.
Alex, you were on this list, right? Or no? Were you? Were you here on the last?
Yeah. Okay. And your last name? I'm sorry, Alex.
Solano. SOLA.
And your email, just so I have it right.
Solano Alex
123.
So just back to this job speaker. When you get a chance this weekend, I'm doing this today. I'm not like grading you on this. Jump in here, make a profile. I'll know that you made a profile. Notifies me when you guys make profiles. Make a profile in here. Start looking at it, kind of get used to kind of how this thing works a little bit. Get in there. You'll see jobs already in there, jobs that I don't have anything to do with, that companies are working with us already. And then there'll be jobs that John Wynn and I put in here as well, right? So, and like I said, anything that we're doing as part of this project, let's say, down the line 8 weeks from now, Kevin Hart's studio wants to hire a bunch of people working on SaaS over at the studio in Canoga Park. It's going to go through Job Speaker. That's how they're going to grab you out of it. They know you're in here, but they're not going to be calling Terrence up and saying, "Hey, give me the name." They're going to be in here. Okay, so just be aware. That's why I want you. This is not an optional thing. You have to go do this if you want to go work on any. If you want to go work on any outside things. All right. But you're gonna like doing this because it's really cool, actually. If I'm excited about it, then you guys are. I don't usually do anything that's not good, so that's this. That's good. Okay, that's enough for me, Terrence.
Yeah.
I'll hand it back over to you and Kevin. Got here now too. Unless Sophia, do you have anything else to say? Sophia's just here. We had one more student come in too for give him your first and last name, and then there is a sign-in sheet too going on.
Yvette Oliver, YVETT.
TTE Oliver. And your email?
O_Yvette@ymail.com.
At Ymail?
O_Yvette@ymail.com. All right. Cool.
Okay, you need anything else from me, Kevin? You good?
I just have a quick announcement I want to make here.
This is Kevin Clark. You guys met him last time, most likely, on last Thursday in the orientation. He's kind of the guy he was coordinating this whole thing, putting it together on the business side of it. So you want to get to know Kevin because he's the main guy.
Okay. So guys, bear with me 30 seconds. I'm trying to bring one of our collaborators in virtually.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm gonna be roving around. If you need me for anything, let me know. Holler, Terrence.
All right, perfect.
All right. Sophia, thank you.
I just sent my link.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. Guys, I've met some of you I haven't. This is a organization called Digital Hollywood. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of Digital Hollywood. Oh, two. Okay, two folks. I'm going to ask you a question about it. What do you know about Digital Hollywood?
I got it from you last Saturday.
And there it is.
Okay, what about you, sir?
Same thing.
Same thing. Okay, no problem. Really quick, this organization here is kind of a collaboration between a gentleman who runs a lot of conferences around the country. He does a lot of the organization for the Consumer Electronics Show. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of the Consumer Electronics Show. So he does a lot of the coordination for that, but he has his own brand called Digital Hollywood. So he's a conference organizer. And for Digital Hollywood, we're going to have, at some point, an opportunity to look at these kinds of industry insider conferences as curriculum. We're going to try and prepare you guys on being able to get a press pass, being able to be prepped there to go and interview people. The people that will be inside of Digital Hollywood will be the folks who are the leaders in the industry, CEOs, chairmen, startups, and everybody that obviously is trying to be on the cutting edge of where technology and entertainment are going. So we've been blessed enough to be some internship opportunities, some paid and some unpaid internships to work on the upcoming Digital Hollywood, which is in Los Angeles, May 22nd to the 24th, 2018. This magazine will basically just give you some of the idea of some of the people, the panelists, vendors, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about this, but we have a little time to really get prepared for figuring out what we can do to work as working press, internships inside of Digital Hollywood. So I'm going to quickly pass those out.
Yeah, and I put the link on the spreadsheet. So the Google Doc that you guys all have access to now has a link to what I'm showing you right now on the screen. So any of you don't get to see the physical, this will all be here online for you. And Victor and Digital Hollywood is one of the partners that we'll have available that will be in the job seeker application in the app, so that you guys can then show your skills and responsibilities to be able to go and actually compete for internships there, in addition to sort of the press crew that we'll put together to go and produce content from Digital Hollywood. Any questions on Digital Hollywood or sort of what that organization is or that opportunity? Yes, sir.
So the conference on the 22nd to the 24th, is that gonna be just like the electronics consumer? Or was it
So no, this is really more an insider kind of a deal. So you've got panelists coming from a lot of those kind of companies, but they're talking about the business. So there'll be certain topics that they'll go over. So they maybe talk about VR, AR. And you'll see guys from HTC Vive, maybe somebody from Facebook, Oculus Rift, and they'll discuss in a panel the state of VR, AR. So as opposed to really just looking at the latest greatest equipment, you're really talking to business executives who are trying to figure out the next big angle. And what we'd love to see you guys do is go in there, ask some questions, get some interviews, really go deep with, hey, you know, how does that apply to the jobs that'll make possible, right? Because if this eventually VR, AR thing takes off, what skill sets are there? I can tell you, VR takes off. Maya 3D Studio Max, a lot of job opportunities in that area that have to support VR, AR if it's going to scale. Not to mention the graphics and business pieces and the rest. So. Other sort of questions around Digital Hollywood, that opportunity, and I think so. Just to back all the way up, you know, my goal here is for you guys to be able to come in, sort of free flow, ask some questions. So the way I think I want to structure it is the first hour. So the first 15 minutes or so will be announcements, right? Job opportunities, things that we have going on, upcoming field trips, all that kind of stuff. Then we'll spend maybe 45 minutes to an hour on some kind of subject matter. So I'll give you guys an overview. Today, it's sort of your digital footprint, digital identity. We touched a little bit on the intro. Today, we'll go a little bit deeper. I'll use myself as an example to show you guys a little bit about that and really intro to the course. And then we do have a guest speaker coming in from a school system in North Carolina that's inviting us to collaborate on a project with their students on 360 filmmaking. So that's Mr. Darren Bell. I think about 2 o'clock our time, we're going to try to bring him in and we'll have a quick conversation with him about their project and what we might be able to do to collaborate. So this is a chance for you guys to maybe collaborate with some high school students who are going to have some equipment. They're going to go off to the African American Museum in DC. But, you know, they're excited to collaborate with folks here in LA, Hollywood, right? I mean, if you're sitting in North Carolina, you guys are the closest to talent in Hollywood that they're touching, right? But it's an opportunity to really collaborate, show some ideas, show some of your skill sets. So we'll be introducing projects like that as we go. So without further ado, what I'll do is really run through, again, what I think is going to happen between now and spring break. And we'll sort of go through that in a nutshell, and then we'll start talking a little bit about digital identity and your digital footprint. So, oh yeah, please get that done so that Sophia can do the important things she needs to do for us. Is there anybody that I missed? I believe you came in right at the end, sir. Yeah. Your name, sir? David. David. Nothing? And your email?
David 7 @gmail.
Got it. Perfect. And again, if you guys come back, you guys all have access to the sheet. The one thing I'll say is for me, you know, it's real time, live. If you notice, I'm taking notes real time, but putting it to a Google document that everybody has access to. So that's your first step in collaboration. This class is collaborative, right? You guys have input. I want to do it in real time, make sure we have what we need. If you ever see anything, say, hey, you know, can you put up a note to that? Can you put up a link to that? But hopefully by the end of this, you'll be able to go back to this Google Doc. You'll be able to look at every week of the information that we've been able to do, and then sort of say, okay, great, here's some of the nuggets, some of the notes, some of the things I want to go back to. But really, and the idea from that becomes a video blog, right? So the goal would be, as we move forward, we are video blogging every week on the things that happened for that week and sort of being able to recap that. So that's where we'd like to get. So today, it's a spreadsheet, it's a document. Hopefully tomorrow, this is including video content, conversations, other pieces like that. Any questions before we get kicked off? Anything else you need?
No, Darren's going to come in.
At 2 o'clock.
Where will the Google document be in the workshop?
Oh, it's the link that I sent out. So anybody who did it, so what I'll do after this is I'll send it. So I sent a welcome email on, I think, Tuesday for everybody who sent me an email. After this class, I'll send everybody the link to the Google Doc. And so it's a live area and all you guys will be able to have access to it. And of course, it's a place where you have also access to all of your other teammates, right? All of your other, classmates here. Because in the end, we'll start to split up into teams and groups of folks who can go out and produce content that we can all discuss. So, think about how you crew up, right? How you meet folks. So sort of pay attention to some of the names of people that you see on the list, and we'll start to look at skill sets. One of the things we want to come out of this is, as you look at Job Seeker, would love for you guys to have that profile of, my name is Marel, and I'm an editor first and foremost, but I have these other skill sets. Or so I believe another gentleman here is audio. Not a lot of audio guys, but you might want to say, hey, I need somebody who can help me sweeten the audio for my piece. Make sure we capture that. So I want you guys to start to understand who has what skill sets to work with each other. Great. So so the first step in digital identity. So if you notice, everybody has different email addresses and the rest. So what's important about that is, Gmail is what I use primarily, mainly because of what that means to my digital identity. So what I mean by that is, within Google, we have Google Docs. Those Google Docs are tied to my Google Drive, which is tied to my Gmail address. And so my access is tied to that Gmail address. And I've had Gmail since it came out. So that's how I have ttcoles@gmail. There's a lot of people who come in and you can't even get your name. You got to have your name plus 15 letters because it's as you move forward, those become longer and longer. So it was important for me to get ttcoles@gmail, ttcoles@hotmail, and every other domain I own. I set up ttcoles@domains that I own, including I bought my own name. Well, I bought the name Terrence Coles. And you'll see in a minute that even your own name may not be unique to who you are. And so, again, thinking about how that reflects. So your email address, so not to pick on anybody, but I was looking at Nadine, and you have an Earthlink email address. Who knows what Earthlink is? One person. Earthlink was a very early ISP, internet service provider, back when they were doing dial-up and AOL. I used to be LA ad guy at AOL.com. That was my digital identity when AOL was important. And today, AOL is much more of a content provider than a service provider. But it says something about Nadine, one, techie lady at Earthlink, right? So one, there's history here, and she's been in tech since Earthlink was putting out email addresses. So there's a wealth of knowledge that you bring that is shown in your digital identity just based on your email address. So just think about what that means, right? So when you send emails, people are making sort of judgments about what's behind door number one, who you are. So think about what your email means to you. At some point, to access Google resources, you have to have a Gmail address. Meaning, if you want to get paid from Google or you want to manage any of the ways to monetize content from Google, they require you to have a Gmail address. So that's why they tie my YouTube account to my Gmail address. And they allow you to have multiple other accounts. So, my Gmail ties me to projects that I work on. It ties me to logins that I have for AdWords, which lets me monetize content. It ties me into what I can and can't do on YouTube because it knows my channel. So all those things become important. So a Gmail address may be something that if you don't have one, you may want to set it up, mainly because it has value beyond just email, right? So think about those kind of pieces as you're looking at your digital identity. So first and foremost, your email address. Second, all of the profiles that we have. We talked a little bit about profiles. So if you think about the social media networks and the rest, you've got Twitter, you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, you've got Snapchat, you've got all kinds of different pieces, you've got LinkedIn, and everything has really a different purpose. So we talked a little bit about the purpose of business. So when we talk in here, the social media network of choice for business people is LinkedIn, right? So when I meet another business person, generally you say, hey, let's get linked up on LinkedIn. So as an example, I'm going to show you guys my LinkedIn profile. So did any of you go home and search me? What'd you find? and what's important about this is if you put in Terrence Coles, the top link for Terrence Coles is LinkedIn. Now notice my LinkedIn though is Terrence T. Coles. That's on purpose. Because if you look here, you see that's me. This Terrence DeCarlo Coles, not me. This Facebook profile, I think, is me. This guy right here, he continues with the local enforcements for issues on laundering money and embezzlement, right? There's a fundraiser by another Terrence Coles here. So if you just think about in general, if somebody doesn't know who you are, first thing they may do is go into Google, put your name in. So you should go, and if you haven't done it, I mentioned last time, go put your name in Google and see what shows up for you, and then how do you show up differently than all the other people that may or may not be you. So just as an example, these are all the images for Terrence Coles. So you see a couple that are me, and I guess these are the other Terrence Coleses. And there's a Terrence Coles here who's got a discography. I like that, right? That's great. Some Terrence Coles made a verbal commit. I wish I could go and do all of that. So 19 public records are found, phone numbers, credits. But notice that all of my other social media is lost here, right? That's not my Twitter account. This is me for Social Media Week. I'm not a real estate agent with only one R, right? So again, this is sort of door number one that people may use to find you. And I'll even be more specific. You put in Terrence T. Coles, still comes up. Number 3, Hazelwood drug dealer. Right? Even if I put in my real name, I'm really not trying to be that guy. But it's closer because this is me, and that is me. Although this link says Summer Ibiza Deep House Party, like where did that come from? So the tags are not me. And even if you click a link to this YouTube stream, it's my picture, it's my channel, but it's for something that streamed on April 30th that isn't really what I wanted to be up there, right? So those are the beginnings of understanding who you are and what your digital identity may mean for other folks. So I'll go back to LinkedIn. From a business sense in LinkedIn, first thing that you notice is you have a headline. So for my headline in LinkedIn, global, mobile, programmatic advertising expert. So that doesn't say Terrence Coles from XYZ company, doesn't say Terrence Coles, LA Mission College. It defines me based on a field of expertise. So the first thing you're looking at, if you were to create a LinkedIn, you might want to have that be aspirational, right? I'm a filmmaker, I'm a producer, I'm a composer, I'm a creative. That's a description of who you are in a business sense. Underneath that, it'll tell where I'm currently working, one of the current places that I work, company adapter, based in Germany, GmbH. Cal State Fullerton, so it says where I went to school. So that gives you the connection of that. It says I'm in the greater Los Angeles area, and it says I have over 500 connections here. And then, I wrote a basic piece, but here I always update this scenario, but it starts with, Mr. Terrence Coles has a wealth of expertise in mobile and video advertising solutions. About who I am, I'm currently working at this place. And it goes on to talk a little more about things that I've done. I'll show you a little more just so you get an idea. So, as you're developing your professional profile, you talk about yourself and you talk about your work, but then go back to, well, what is it that you've done, right? Develop new revenue streams, implemented solutions, worked in mobile video media for over 20 years. Again, I was most recently at this company, but in the end, this gets down to what you can bring to the party and then how you're affiliated with other things that people might be able to look up to validate who you are and what you do in business. So even today, you might think about some projects. LA Mission College may be important in what you do. Or I know there's organizations that you belong to. You're going to start a new media society, new media group, that kind of thing. Think about ways that you can share multiple things about yourself, but what do you do specifically in an area of expertise that's not defined by anybody else? So the other piece that's important in LinkedIn is your profile, right? So one of the things that you see, this is private to me, but you can see it. I see how many people have looked at my profile, how many people looked at my posts, how many times have I shown up in a search. It tells me, am I open to recruiters? Right now, I'm open, but I can turn recruiters off. Insights. And then they tell you, hey, strengthen your profile. So it's asking me to complete information about Virginia Tech. So I have Virginia Tech in my LinkedIn profile because I went to Virginia Tech early in my career for engineering, even though I didn't graduate. But the fact that I spent 2.5 years in an engineering program at Virginia Tech says a lot about who I am as an individual. Because if you add Virginia Tech engineering to Cal State Fullerton advertising marketing, you start to put together, oh, that's a geek who works in advertising, right? But it starts to do important pieces of the pie. So even though I didn't get a degree there, Virginia Tech has a level of I guess, distinction amongst people who are looking at academic success that has value to my business profile. So on purpose, those things, I didn't mention, I also went to Old Dominion College in Virginia, and I also went to Tidewater Community College and all the other things, but those things don't add to my professional profile. So again, these are ways that people, and also think about those affiliations. Other people who went to Virginia Tech who have that kind of concept in business are people I want to associate with. So that adds up to that profile. The other piece is you can see my activities and followers. Your whole experience is here. My education is here. At the end, has volunteer experience. So I've worked with UNAIDS, and that's a project from the United Nations on HIV and AIDS. And my job there has been, helping digital media and social media for a global campaign to work on UNAIDS. Why is that important? Again, from a professional perspective, as a well-rounded individual, you want to show that you do more than just work every day, right? People want to see, and this is important as you look at your resume, right? This is a digital version of my resume. Today, if I'm going to look for a job, one of the first things I might do is send my LinkedIn and say, hey, take a look here. And if you want to know more about me, I'm more than happy to fill out your program. But what was important for me was to put everything that you would have had maybe in a resume in LinkedIn, so you immediately are viewable to business-oriented individuals, giving the right context for what you want them to see for your digital identity. And very much like what you're about to do with the job seeker. So Curtis is saying, hey, great. And this is an inside tool, right? So this is an outside tool. Job seeker is an inside tool that the college is using to help to place you. So just as important as it will be to create that, as you're thinking about creating that internally, think about creating something externally that has value. And then you have recommendations, endorsements. So people have, given me recommendations on what you've done. If you have ever had a job and you do your LinkedIn, find the person who gave you that job and ask if they will recommend you on LinkedIn. Because that's a personal stamp, like, hey, I know that guy. That person has done good work for me. It also says I've got 3 patents. So I've been involved in intellectual property, and you can dig into that. So somebody who would be interested in understanding the tech part of what I've done, you can sort of see, and you see other inventors that I worked with. So you can look at their profiles to understand what it was that I was working on patents for. And it's got links to the patents. So yet again, this speaks a lot about the history. So I don't have to go into this long story. If somebody's interested in it, they can dig there. But what that does is under accomplishments, it fills out my profile. I have another project. It was a job, but it was other things that I wanted to be involved with, that I wanted to share. So I put that in as a project. And then interests. So once you have all of those pieces in your profile, then you will have a profile. My profile, I think, is 90-some% complete because I put in skills, interests, all kinds of things to build that picture of myself over time. So I'll pause right there real quick. I mean, other questions on LinkedIn, what that means.
I have a couple of questions. First one, like in your bio section, right? How you address yourself obviously gives a certain like tone and presents yourself in a certain way.
Yeah.
So I always refer to myself as Monica blah blah blah, right? You put Mr. Terrence Coles. It gives like a different feeling. Am I hurting myself by being more casual and saying Monica?
In LinkedIn, as a business scenario, you want to think about this as if you had a PR company that was representing you, how would you want them to represent you to the world, even though you're writing it yourself? You want them to say, Ms. Monica has done this and she has done that and she's worked here and she's received these awards. And so a lot of times, because you get stuck in the I, right? Monica was this way and I did this and I did that. And you have to think about yourself almost here in the third person and think about switching your role from being the one who's doing it to someone who is promoting yourself.
Well, I understand about the third person part, but I was talking more about the formality because I have never really been addressed as Miss So and So. Like even though I've had like been in corporate environment and everything, we've always been informal with each other, even addressing the CEO by his first name type of thing. So I've never been in that scenario. So when I address myself and I talk about myself in the third party, or in the third person, I always just make it casual and use my first name without any kind of formal salutation.
No, I understand.
So, but is that something that actually makes me look bad to other people? Because I don't know.
There are some people who would judge you based on formality. People, so this whole conversation is about how someone externally views you. So even to people who are younger than me, I will say, thank you, sir. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. How are you, Mr. Gonzalez? How are you doing today? And part of it is I'm from the South. So I'm from Virginia. That's what we did. But part of it is also showing a level of respect, because you can always tone it down and get more casual, but you can't play it up if that was what somebody was looking for. So what I would say to you is you want to give yourself the maximum opportunity. And in that way, if you can be a little more formal, people will tell you, hey, that's okay, you can call me Terrence. But it's nice if you said, how are you today, Mr. Coles? Little boy comes over to my house to play with my son. He knocks on the door, and this little kid's running in my house and saying, "Hey, Terrence, excuse me." So just I'm only using that to say, think about going into somebody's house and somebody's personal space, because in business, people do think about how you're related to and how they're related to, and that does hold some weight for some people. So for me, out of an abundance of caution, and I'll just put this out there, particularly as a minority, you always have to play to the highest standard that you can play to, because you can always let people play it down for you. But if you come across as too casual, too flippant, too much like, oh, that's your buddy, all the rest, some people are like, I'm not your buddy. I'm somebody who can give you $100,000 a year job. And so just think about, and also the audience here, the people who could look at this can be everybody from the CEO of Disney or DreamWorks down to a peer, down to someone aspirationally looking up to you. But either way, that more formal tone can carry weight in certain circumstances. Again, and that's my personal choice, is I always want to play to the highest level in the room, and I can always back off. And someone can always let you back off. But you should treat yourself that you are owed that same level of respect, right? People will treat you how you treat yourself. And part of this, in terms of especially the kinds of companies and places that you're going to go and people that you're going to speak with, they want to see that you have a level of acumen. I'll use a good example. went over to Heartbeat Productions. Talking to the head of Heartbeat Productions, he's talking about what he wants in an intern. He was saying, well, I want somebody who can come in and soak it up and learn when not to say something. When to say something. When to address someone in a certain way. If you are at Heartbeat Productions and Kevin Hart were to walk by you, you don't want to be like, hey, Kevin, can I get your autograph? How you doing? Can I get it? Can you sign this for me? Let me take a selfie. How are you, Mr. Hart? Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here at Heartbeat Productions. I appreciate your time. If you have that conversation, the likelihood that he can then invite you, hey, great, nice to meet you too. Do you want to grab a selfie? Do you want to, because you've shown him a certain level of respect. And ultimately, if someone walks on your set or your production, they should treat you with that level of respect. You should expect that if you're running a production in here and you're going to go out and do a shoot and you crew up and you go and get a high school kid, you should have them ultimately understand and respect that position. And in that case, you may be Ms. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. And that also helps as you help other people up the ladder so they learn those things. So part of it is also people will treat or do that as you lay it out. So long answer for why I do what I do. But other questions on LinkedIn? Sure.
I have a question about the name aspect that you were talking about. For me, I have a YouTube channel and I have all my social medias under a certain name.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I do want to keep, I guess, my business side with my real name,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of my social media platforms under that other name. What is your opinion on that?
So for LinkedIn, this is your professional piece. A project under your LinkedIn or projects under your LinkedIn can carry the name of your YouTube channel. But you are, in this case, the talent. The things you do should all fall under that. And so you might have Kim's Cars. I'll make it up. But you are.
And also, do you feel like it's necessary to have the same amount of social medias under my online moniker to have them also as my real name? Or that's
No, I don't think so. I think that in some cases you want your social media monikers to be that, because in some cases, if you want to say something personally, you don't necessarily want that to reflect your social media brand or your production brand, and it's a good thing. You have people who are I don't know if you guys. One of the gentlemen that I work with is an actor. His name is Richard Gant. He's been an actor for 40 years. And every time we go somewhere, people always say, oh, I know you. And he'll make some joke like, oh, I used to live around the corner from you. Because he's done so much acting. You could know him from so many places that he could go down and talk to you about every one of those roles. And he's still acting. But in that conversation, he's Richard Gant, who happens to be on Greenleaf, Oprah's show, who happened to be on Men of a Certain Age with Ray Romano, who happened to be in Rocky V, and who happens to own a production company, right? So you don't want to be necessarily your channel, right? Because you could have 5 channels. You could be affiliated with 50 channels. But in this case, this is you as the professional, as the owner of those entities.
I had a question.
Please go ahead.
You asked how many people have LinkedIn?
No, I think we asked last week, but I don't know. How many of you guys do have LinkedIn? Did you guys see anything about what you
Is there
changed?
anybody brave enough to showcase their LinkedIn and how they presented themselves? I mean, it's a good exercise just so that you can actually figure out how to apply what he's talking to.
Oh, use yours. Okay, and I'm sorry, your name?
I had my previous one, my public, and I have my personal. Is Jackie talking?
Falcon. This you right here?
Yeah. Wait. No.
No? Ah.
I know there's someone already up there.
Let me search.
Oh,
Here?
understood. Yeah. I haven't updated my picture because I didn't.
No, that's good. So, as an example, so based on what we were talking about, what do you see that jumps out at you first and foremost?
No picture. No picture.
Right. And I think you probably haven't written an overview or a bio of yourself.
I just started school, so I have my professional with the company.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's good that you changed there, right? And the one thing you might want that to be is you may be a student and a producer, or an editor, or an audio, or you can just be a student. That's fine. But to that end, think about it aspirationally as to student of. What are you studying here?
Production.
Production student / producer. Right? Aspirationally, business-wise, that and now your thing, you've done American Telecommunications thing, but then Elevation College may be something that you can pull together here, and then think about how you might write yourself a little bio or the rest.
Would you recommend if you had two like really different kind of job things to have two different LinkedIn?
It's hard because then you're gonna, as you can see, it's hard to even find the one. So what you potentially want to think about is what aspirationally do you define yourself as here, and if you have two career paths, then sort of break those out into areas of interest, projects that you've worked on. There's lots of depth. So what I think it happens a lot of time in LinkedIn is people look at LinkedIn very flat, and it's deep, as you guys all are deep as individuals. So if you think about the purpose here, this is your professional profile, but I think I would say that headline for you is how you see yourself now, and put in context the various paths that you've been down.
It's going to be good.
But by the way, you saw how long mine was. It took me a long time to fill out all that. But the good news is this sort of stays here, and people can sort of see you at the top, how you want to see yourself. And if I want to dig in, though, I can dig in. And you can always say, hey, here's my piece that I wrote up on this. You don't have to keep explaining yourself. So you can put that together.
And Terrence, if you bring mine up, I want to kind of provide an antidote here. So. Very deep on Kevin Clark's.
Well, you're already first.
Okay, so I have built this as literally just a scratch site. I haven't done much to attract any, friends or people follow me. But yet I think I'm almost up to 1,000 people. But I started early in the game. It's changed now. It's very difficult to get people to follow you, become your friend. Just like YouTube space or YouTube, at one point you can get everybody to subscribe. Now it's hard as heck to get anybody to subscribe or give you the collateral you need. So we started early. I got all these people without even trying. For you guys, it's going to be very, very hard to try to get somebody to resonate or to connect with. So you have to do a lot to just make sure that you fill out your profile and really create an identity that's going to promote not only who you are, but who you're going to be. So I'm going to use that as an example.
Yes, sir.
I created mine way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And when I created it, I never went back and touched it.
Yes.
So would I be able to go back and edit the name of it or anything like
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Absolutely. As long as you know your username and password. And if you did, you could probably, as long as you have the email you signed up with.
Yeah, because I keep getting the email.
If you keep getting the emails for it, just put in your email and literally right back at home, you have the opportunity within your profile to always go right here.
Oh, okay.
Right? And this is straight at the top. So literally, as long as you have access, you can change all of these basic pieces. You can do links to media, pictures, video. So that's the other thing that I recommend that you do is, you might have some pieces of work that might speak better for who you are than who you are, right? But there's ways that you can show all of those. Other questions? Okay. So we looked at the professional side of the rest. So for your digital identity, what would you say is the next big place that people are looking for you? Right, Facebook, right? So have you guys changed your Facebook to reflect your true preferences for who has access to your information? So if you haven't, second. Uh-oh. Yeah. Oh. So, no, I won't add any of you to Facebook. Unless we go way back and get to know friends. But what's important about this is that Facebook is a place that is the personal side of life, right? And I think people get confused sometimes and use Facebook as your professional side, right? If you use Facebook on the professional side, you can set up Facebook profiles for your social media. You can set up content, businesses, production companies. Use the Facebook business profile, not your personal profile, if you want to use Facebook to engage in that manner, right? So just think about, if you think about your primary Facebook feed, do you want any of that information going to a prospective employer? If not, you probably don't want to connect with people in that business on your personal Facebook account. But there are identity, I got a lot of requests because I don't really accept much, but there are other pieces. So I have pages, right? So there's my church. I was helping them on Facebook. I have all these pages. This is a former company I used to work for. And so I created a page connected to my profile. And that's their page, but that's not me, right? So I don't know if you guys have seen that you can create a page. So if you want to do something that reflects a business, reflects an external interest, this is the place where you can do that. Because Facebook is a good opportunity from a business perspective. We have clients who own apps. They have a profile for their app here on Facebook. And this has a benefit because you can use this profile to then promote user acquisition for your app. You can do different pieces, but it is not you. Most important piece. And then you want to look at yourself and look at your settings in terms of understanding who has access to your information or not, right? So here, this tells me networks. It can allow me to manage my accounts, manages who has access to your posts. So that becomes a very important part of dealing in personal social networks, different than professional social networks. Now, where it gets a little bit blurred is here. How many of you guys have Twitter accounts? So do you use Twitter accounts for posting or mainly for searching? Posting? So as you can see, top of my Twitter feed is Kevin Hart because he tweets all the time. But we connected to that because it's important for us to know what's happening. So for me, in this world, you'll notice I probably have far less tweets than I do in terms of looking at the trends and the rest. But for me, generally, the things that I tweet about, one, it pushes to my Facebook, but I'll look at the live stream. So the last tweet was for the live stream I did trying to introduce this class. Because for me, Twitter, even at my personal level, is about the business things that I'm working on. So I'm generally not here ranting about my own private politics or whatever the case may be. I'm not here putting a whole lot of stuff. And of course, people do use it for that. For me, my profile was really much more, if you think about how people are looking at me and the rest, I probably want to keep it pretty PG, pretty much just related to the business things that will enhance what I can do, as opposed to that private place. If I wanted to rant, I probably would use Snapchat, but I think I'm not quite the Snapchat profile guy, and I don't know if my wife wants me using Snapchat. But again, the thing about Twitter is you have a lot of trending information. So for me, Twitter is a great place to figure out who to follow, where to find some of those things, and maybe how to connect yourself. And if you're talking about business, you may want to look at a business Twitter profile separate than a personal. So if you have a personal Twitter profile and that is what you go out and you work with, then think about separating a business Twitter profile for the things that you want people to go to that are related to the public business image that you'd like to put out. How many of you guys are familiar with a tool called Hootsuite? One. So it's probably worth it for me to share real quick. We'll take a break here in about another 5 minutes just so you guys can stretch your legs, go to the restroom if you need to. So Hootsuite is a tool that will allow you to push information to different profiles, but also then manage those profiles and get reports on those profiles. So if I wanted to see what was happening in my particular Twitter profile, then I can look at the overview. I get emails that tell me when I mention this right here gets to tell you can create a report on the various profiles to see what's happening in any piece of your social network and start to then track yourself. So you notice how people use links like Owly. Those are used so you can track the behavior and the links and create reports. So if you think about using Twitter and Facebook and these things for business, you want to look at a tool like a Hootsuite that will help you understand who you're reaching, who's viewing your posts. How can you then boost additional posts, understand how that's being perceived across the social media network space. And there's a few other tools that do this. I only use Hootsuite to just give you an example, but it's one place where you could literally mix Google Analytics. And by the way, Google Analytics are tied to your Gmail address, which could be tied to a web page you own. So those are all pieces of the pie that you can manage centrally, which becomes important as you look at the various parts of the profile. I'm hoping I can get my TER Coles here to show up. So these are all the accounts that I've had hooked up for various reasons. And then you can engage your audience. So you choose the network, you add the streams, you figure out who you post to. And once you add all of your various networks, this gives you one place. So that was a Protect the Goal campaign that I worked on, where you can look at the various pieces of that page versus my own Twitter profile. And you can also set alerts. So it'll send an email alert and let me know, oh, this tweet got this kind of response.
I stepped out. Did you ask how many people have Twitter?
I did.
Okay. How many people are actually looking at their computer and looking at any content live right now? Anybody? Does anybody watch, so Terrence, can they actually go and watch the live stream of the class right now?
Sure.
Why don't everybody, again, put.
I don't know if they're logged in though.
Is anybody not logged in? Okay, so for the ones who can log in, why don't you watch the live stream? Because at some part of this program, we're gonna actually bring people in live.
Well, we'll bring them in here.
Okay, can we bring them in? Yeah. But here's where I was going, but the people who have Twitter accounts, Terrence has actually posted a live stream promoting the fact that he's actually streaming this live on his Twitter account. So I just, was on Twitter and I saw it. And instead of going through the YouTube site, I just went to this link on Twitter, was able to engage. So just a way to figure out how to see what's going on minute by minute in your network. Twitter is basically, like a ticker tape. Every minute somebody's talking about something that's important.
Well, that's because, and to your point, that shows up because I have my Twitter account connected to my Google Hangout account, connected to my YouTube account, which says when I go live on YouTube Live, post to my Twitter feed. I didn't do that while I was sitting here. I just have it all connected. And again, these are all important pieces, right? The idea that if you want to replicate all of the various pieces of your social media, you can connect it so that you post on Twitter, Twitter posts to your Facebook, and this all started, say, from YouTube to Twitter to Facebook. That all happens automatically just by going live on a stream from YouTube, from a Google Hangout.
So I'm going to be tweeting as we go things that could connect to some people in the room that I know. If you have a Twitter account, I'm going to try to find you, try to tweet you.
Excellent. So I think this is a good place to take a quick 5-minute break. Let's say 10 minutes. Take a break, stretch your legs, the rest. If you have any questions, the rest, and we'll come back at say 1:15. Good. We will be back in 5 minutes for anybody on the live stream. All right, guys. I think we'll get ready to get going here. All right. So the next piece of this is going to be talking a little bit more about your digital profile, but your digital identity. This time we talk a little bit about web, right? So the other place that you can easily create a digital profile or digital identity is through a website. So how many of you guys own a domain? Okay. So cost for a domain at the high end, $20 a year. Cost for WordPress, $0, unless you really want a custom template. And the value you can create for yourself, I won't use the cliche, but it's priceless. So he's gonna put that out there. But I want to. I was explaining. I'm going to air a little my own dirty laundry because a lot of what we're going through here, I'm going to be going through right along with you guys. And so I have an account with the company called Media Temple. So Media Temple, so showing my Media Temple account, and basically for Media Temple, it's a place where you can use their services. That's a grid server. Basically, I have one account I pay for, $20 a month. I can host multiple domains off of that one account. So it's enabling me to have a bunch of domains. I can host them for other people, and you can put stuff up there that I control. Now, I'm not a great web designer, as you're going to see in a minute, but it gives you a place to own digital real estate that you might think is valuable, that can help you with your digital identity. So whether it's Media Temple or Cheap Domains 123, and again, this is different than a domain registrar. So GoDaddy, those guys are domain registrars, right? You go pay them for the domain and the rest. Now they have a hosting program, but Media Temple is a hosting company that allows you to host content, host multiple domains, and push what content you want to that domain. So it requires a little bit of work, but that little bit of work might allow you to really own and control your digital footprint online. So questions about Media Temple and the rest, you'll see all the domains I'm about to show you I have here, and I have a bunch of other domains that other people have owned that I've hosted, and it gives you a level of control, right? Because if you're somebody who can host domains, you're someone who can also say, oh, you own the domain for that project? Let me hook up with my designer and let us help you push the content to there. I can put a video blog on your domain. I can do these kinds of things to help you out. So it's something that you should have in your production skill set, is some way to understand how you can create a footprint, a place online that you guys can own and control. And every project generally, should have some kind of a complement there. Because again, that's where you can go and post. You're not waiting for anybody to distribute. You're greenlighting yourself by putting it out online, right? Place number one. And in addition to YouTube, right? But in YouTube, that's not yours, right? You're sending people to YouTube, Google. So just in addition, think about, if I send you to where I'm about to show you, it's mine. So the first thing I'll show you is TerrenceColes.com. So I bought TerrenceColes.com, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. I pay for it every year just to own it. And all I have here is some content Kevin and I did for Dakar, USC, Social Media Week, mentoring. So this was however long ago. That's me. That's a hangout on air that we did at USC.
And so regardless of where you're trying to go, never forget where you are. Because to get where you want to go, you have to do well where you are. So I'll tell you how I ended up in television, because it's really that random. So
I'm pausing there, but you guys after this, you go to TerrenceColes.com, check that out. That's an hour and 28 minutes with Ted Lai, gentleman from Apple, who will be part of this program. It's got Jay Tucker from USC, who's now UCLA, him talking. It's got a woman from AT&T talking. And this is something that we did. Dan Watanabe. I mean, so again, this is a place where I post a few things that sort of define me, that I'm controlling. And that's nothing but a couple of YouTube clips that I can swap out tomorrow in a widget. right? Not super complicated, but impactful. This is a panel I did for the NAACP at the Theater Awards. That's my actor friend Richard Gant.
I think we're leading right into technology this year. Whether it's setting it up through Skype or using your iPhone, like comes with Skype, many of your smartphones have a Skype download, and just doing it and just collecting all the people that you possibly can, build your database. Wherever you go, meet somebody, get somebody's email address. Load things up on YouTube, load things up on Vimeo, wherever you can, and just continue to interact with those people.
So you hear that guy? This is a theater festival panel in 2010 when I'm sitting in a room, Adam, and they're talking about the same things that we're talking about right now. And so I just want you to know that there's a clear opportunity that people who are in the know, taking classes like this, doing things where you can learn. So please, these links are up on the site for a reason. It has some other things, but it helps you to understand a little bit about who I am.
Yeah, I just want to make a plug. Can we go to one blog site that I own, because we're going to have a couple of students working with Ruben Garcia as interns on it. Can you put around just?
Okay. Can I go there in just a second?
Okay, 1 second.
I'll go there. I just want to. So the other piece here is that's a YouTube widget. It also contains a Twitter widget, which even has this live stream right now on this page. Right. So again, this is happening without me. I didn't do it. I just hooked up some widgets on a page, and me going live on Google Hangout streams live on a website that I own. Now, I'm not promoting that, right? But I'm connecting the dots. One other point there, I also own another test site, transmedia.me. Here, I'm testing advertising. So I use this site as a test site to test ads so I can understand how can I monetize this, right? If I do drive people to it, that's a Google ad link right here on the top of that page that I'm testing at any point in time to know that I have an active account with Google to make money if I drive 1 million people to a page. And it's important to know that because, if by chance one of your videos goes viral and the rest, you want to have an ability to monetize that. So I have a domain where all I do is test advertising so that I'm ready. If one of my pages blows up, I can just move that link and put it on any other page to monetize that I own. Lastly, I've replicated this on another page that I call globaltransmedia.com. Same exact thing that I have on terrencecoles.com, but I have another domain. And again, this is about another piece of my digital identity, my digital footprint in the world. So there's nothing wrong with replicating yourself to be more relevant so that Terrence Coles is me on LinkedIn, to answer a little bit of your questions before, right? I'm me on LinkedIn, but I'm also globaltransmedia.com, transmedia.me, terrencecoles.com, and I could separate those out, make those different brands. I can use those to build up my identity. I can push certain people to certain audiences, but this is all about getting the underpinning so that you have the means of controlling your content, your identity, your monetization, so you can always easily, and it's not very expensive, to start to own a digital footprint, own a digital identity, right? And so one of the things I'd like you guys to do as an assignment from this class for next week, create a LinkedIn profile. We'll pick a couple of you guys to come in and sort of talk about it, talk about why you put things where you wanted to, but that's one of the things I'd like you guys to do is just create a LinkedIn profile. We'll discuss it next week as sort of a follow-on type of assignment there and the rest. And Kevin, I will go to brownbag.tv. Any questions real quick on?
Yeah, just to clarify, when you say, you can host domains for other people, does that mean that you manage their domains as well, or does that give them the ability to access on the back end their content?
So both. I did it as a means of, if I'm a tech guy in a lot of projects, that's something a lot of other people couldn't do. And so I say, hey, I'll host it for you. And I can charge them for being a web designer and doing it for them. Or I can take a piece and say, hey, you know what? I can give you the control. You have your web designer, he can control it, but I host it. Because that's one of the things that people often don't have for themselves. And so it's a value prop I have to be able to host that domain. Just because I'm a geek, I'm an internet guy. That was something that I set up as a value prop.
But do they get their own login information so they can't access the rest of your?
Oh yes.
account?
So it's so the one thing that in Media Temple, I can go down to any domain. So just to be very specific, I can go down to this domain and I can manage the server all the way down to I can add email users. I can add all of the people and anybody who can edit it. So I have FTP users. So this is really a back-end technical console to control exactly that. I can put an email on that site and you can all of a sudden say, give you your name at my domain. I can take that away. I can give you access to the back end of that domain if you like it, or I can take that away but I own those. So depending on the relationship, you have the flexibility to do whatever you need to do there.
So you can use this like as an server.
This is an FTP. This is a secure FTP server. This also has the ability to host e-commerce. So what I'm showing you guys here is this is me being a web host for the content that I produce. Because if I want to own, and here we're talking about intellectual property, ownership. If I want to own an identity and I want to own the footprint, I want to own the content, I got to own the domain. So one of the first moves that I've made as a producer is we get to go to a project, I buy the domain for the project. And I say, hey, that's my contribution. First thing I know I can do for any project, I can buy the domain, I can manage the domain, I can help us put up content, and I can help us own that digital footprint. I've also been the person who's gone out and said, I'll set up the pages on Facebook, I'll set up the YouTube channel, I'll do all of those things, mainly because as a producer, you need to know that you own and control the digital footprint for the intellectual property that you are going to work with. Otherwise, you're sort of open. And this is, so what I'll say to you guys is, the reason that this is important, I'm going over it sort of day one, is you need to know the end at the beginning. What I mean by that is, assume you are successful. Assume you hit the next big thing from a content perspective. At that point, it's too late to go back and set up a digital identity, and maybe that domain's not there, and maybe you can't get that Facebook page, and maybe you can't get that. Before it has become part of the universe, owning those pieces are a part of your pie in owning your digital footprint, your digital identity, and owning your intellectual property. And think about this like this. If you go to a studio tomorrow and they greenlight your project, I already own all these assets and the rest. So you can plug into my feed, you can plug into my domain, because if you don't, they're going to run it under everything that they do, right? So that is, I think, really the key here. It's a little bit geeky, a little bit deep, but taking these extra steps allow you a lot of control around the intellectual property so that you are in control of what gets managed at that core. Make sense? Other questions? And again, what I'm hoping here is, I'm hoping someone here, if we don't have the resource within the groups that we can team up, we'll get someone from an engineering department or from another school or somebody who knows some web skills and the rest. But in today's world, you have to have somebody who knows social media and knows web if you want to own and control your intellectual property or your content to go out there. Cool. I'll go to Brownback TV. Oh, sorry. Oh, you go.
Okay, a little background on this. This is about maybe 15 years of blood and guts. I've had to learn the hard way. Terrence has eloquently talked about what you have to have or you'll pay at each price. Before you shoot any frame, before you put any idea out there, you gotta have this back end, you gotta have controls. And I've lost so much control, so much intellectual property because I didn't know that. But this is an exercise. Go to check our blog. This blog is what I've been using to try to promote this class and to bring all these elements. Scroll down if you can, Terrence. So I've used this blog to try and actually continue reading. Click on continue reading.
Which is this one?
The next one down. Continue reading. What I did is I put a player in there for the live stream, but I didn't have control of that. So I think if you click on it, I have Terrence's link.
Where?
Click on the YouTube.
This one?
No, the next one up. Just click on that. So I didn't have the link for this particular live stream, so I used Terrence's link as.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, no matter. But this is a blog that I'm using to promote the time and really to network all these people that we're going to hopefully meet in the next 15 years. And I've called it Brown Bag TV. This was
the one we did
Right.
before. Okay, got it.
But literally, this is, again, an exercise in trying to figure out how you guys can showcase and illustrate everything you learn by creating your own blog. For me, this is just a daily diary of being able to take all the video, tweets, and everything else and just putting it into a WordPress site where you can promote, again, a daily, weekly diary of what you learn. So if we ever get to that point, this is a good tool just to have for your memorializing everything that you've been able to learn and apply to your identity.
Yeah, and I think the point here is it's not if, it's when, right? So one of the things that I think is really important is to start to blog experiences in between some of these sessions, right? So we're online, we're streaming online, so we can go through that. But I think it will start to be as we go through some of these field trips. We talked about we're going to go to USC, the Creating Reality Hackathon. And so when we're there, I'm going to have at least some folks with me to hopefully produce some content, but I'd be more than happy to see folks in here help us package that, right, to create that. So start thinking about ways that you capture any of the events we go to, any things we can do, the 360 filmmaking and HR and VR session that we'll go to at AT&T, very similarly, right? So think about ways that you might capture what you're experiencing and even relate it to some of the things you may be shooting in your daily life, right? So pull that together. But there's also a very rich overlay that you can use of all of the things that we're going to experience to start to tell that story from your own personal perspective. And again, if you own that space, that .com, that blog site, then that's yours, right? That's the beginning of your story that you can start to link into your LinkedIn. You can start to let people know what you do and how you do it. So I think it's super important. But I just wanted to show you guys. I mean, you see Kevin, he's got a template and leave reply. This is there. I'm Web 101. but it's there. I own it. I can control it. I can change it, right? So I think what I find is a lot of people are very afraid to put themselves out there because it's not perfect, right? As content producers, as creators, we may probably be much more skeptical or much harder on ourselves than anything else. And what this is about is exploration, weekly iteration. It's about starting somewhere and getting better and going to another place and iterating. The only way you're going to do that is iterate. Week after week, day after day, you're going to get better. Your LinkedIn profile, again, when you guys come in next week, I'm not expecting a LinkedIn profile to be perfect. It's not an assignment. You're not getting an A or B or E or F, right? You guys are here to share and to learn, because I want to see if somebody does something cooler. Maybe I'll pick up a tip. Maybe you'll pick up something from some of your colleagues on how to better represent yourselves. But that's, I think, what's a little different about what we want to do here is in this space, it's a safe space. You got to make mistakes. You will not succeed unless you first fail, right? And so the idea is to fail fast forward, right? Get your failures out of the way quick, learn from them, and keep on going. But you don't do it if you don't iterate.
How many people know what that word is that Karen keeps referring to? Iterate, ideate. Anybody not know what that word means? Everybody knows?
You guys all understand? Iteration?
I'm the only dummy. Okay.
No, but I think it's a good point. I mean, look, iteration is just this idea of repeating a process over and over. And simply said, rinse, lather, repeat. Right? That's you're gonna take a shower, you're gonna take a bath, rinse, lather, rinse, repeat, right? The basics, right? So over and over again, because the more familiar you are with coming up with a concept, figuring out how you're gonna storyboard it, how you're gonna get it shot, how you're gonna get it edited, how you're gonna turn it over, and what is that gonna look like when you get it done. Kevin will show you. I mean, these little things that we shot, you know, one thing I would say to you is make sure you move quickly or you lose it. The one other thing that you'll see here is this is all about recency, right? To be relevant in digital and social media, because it changes every day, is you got to move quick. Kevin stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning working on a blog piece to edit the content to get it up to the blog the next day, because after that, the moment's lost, right? You were there, you had the content, you had it fresh in your mind what you were gonna do. And if you say, oh, I'm just gonna leave this over here, and let me call my editor buddy and we'll work on it this weekend and then we'll get to it the next week, and I don't like that title sequence, so let's do this. Well, you're a month gone down the pipeline. And in this world, the relevance of the event is gone. So the other piece about identity is how can you make yourself relevant daily? Why is it important to have a profile and to have a place already set up? Is because you never know when that moment is going to happen where you're going to, boom, I connected. You're at the Creating Reality Hack. Somebody's doing something that you're really interested in. You get a concept and you need to connect the dots. It's too late to go and build and set up a place where you can push it. If you have a place where you can push it, you're waiting for that opportunity. And, oh, God, I got that perfect interview. You saw the picture on Kevin's Brown Bag TV on the front page of this site right here. Oops. So that's Compton High School television station. We did the blog post from Compton High School there with the superintendent of Compton Schools and the rest 3 years ago, really attempting to bring this kind of class to life. That picture right there, who knows who that guy is in the red jacket? George Lucas, right? So that's Richard Gant, my partner, you know, creator, and based on Kevin having a relationship with Tuskegee Airmen, they had a conference. They were going to honor George Lucas. You know, he calls us up and says, "Okay, can you guys get to Vegas in 36 hours and show up? We have an opportunity to interview George Lucas."
Yes.
Yes, yes, and yes. right. We're done on a plane, captured it, and he was the nicest guy, but it was the right place, right time. He's being honored by the Tuskegee Airmen. He talked about red tails, and we had a chance to pull an interview with him about what. Now, what's cool is this thing is sitting on my YouTube channel, sitting on Kevin's channel. We've sort of had that as part of who we are. It's still never been out where it needs to be, but there's an opportunity. There'll be a time and a place where that's going to be extremely relevant in terms of, oh, okay, yeah, well, these guys know what they're doing. They've already had an interview with Lucas from Red Tails. Yeah, we did. And Lucasfilms was done. Oh.
What did you mean by out there?
It is currently on my YouTube channel. It's on Brown Bag TV. It's pushed out through our social media. So when we did it, we pushed it out through all of our social media contacts. So there's links that if you start to search it, it comes up, and it's been there long enough that and if you put it in a search engine, you can find it. So right now, we just haven't had the spark to make it relevant, but it's there. And again, we came home, we did it quick, we put it up, we posted it, we put all the links, we put all the tags to it. And so it's there waiting for that opportunity of where, great, you want to show what we've been able to do. There'll be a time and a place, I hope, that relevance to Lucas becomes something that we can leverage. Think about it like this: when there was articles that came out about Lucas, when the new Star Wars came out, and they were talking about how he felt about it and how it would do. And every time something like that comes out, it's a good time for us to put a quick tweet with the link to that, right? Put a quick post and say, yeah, great interview of Lucas. Check out our interview of George Lucas. Anytime that's there, and what happens is you can that push can ripple across my website, his website, the social media piece that we built. But again, if that comes up tomorrow and we haven't put it out there where it needs to be, to your point, we haven't set it up in that way, you can't then leverage, you can't collect visitors or followers or other people who start to, I've gotten probably more subscriptions on my YouTube channel from that one interview than most anything else. And for monetization, that one's made more money because it's just had more views over time.
And to Terrence's point, this was a kind of a catching lightning in a bottle opportunity. What George Lucas shared with us in these interviews is that he was retiring. He's basically out of Lucas, and basically he was giving us a heads up that I'm retired. We'll find something else to do, which he still hasn't really done, except for he's going to be building a new museum. And all of his artifacts, everything that he's ever accumulated is going to be in this park in LA Exposition. So that's his passion, that's his project. But he was giving us a heads up that Disney was going to be his eventual, new brand's place where it's going to live in, in perpetuity. And we didn't know what was going to happen, but very forthcoming at that time. So I'm still in communication with his team about what they may be doing in terms of special projects. But again, we've got a lot of other things to do, including this class.
So how many of you guys, back to YouTube, so you guys, how many of you guys have YouTube channels again? Okay. So one of the other really interesting, important things you get from Google and YouTube are analytics, right? So you can look at various pieces and you can see there's us at Jefferson with Amber's class where she had attended, John F. Kennedy. And so we had a meeting there that we did as a test. We have USC, the mentoring video that you saw. This is us. Is that you, Amber? Is it you in this picture? No, you're not there.
Yes,
No.
Yeah.
So this, but that was the class that you were in, right? So again, there's continuity, and the reason I bring this up is there's continuity within a historical context of how this thing came to be. And what's important about that is validation over who you are, what you've done, how you got where you are. Nobody just shows up, and I mean, unless you're super lucky, nobody just shows up and everything is great and you have all this without a whole lot of work, right? You see the filmmakers who actually make something successful, and you start looking at, oh man, what did they do before, right? So part of this, if you think about it, owning all of these things and owning your digital identity is a part of documenting your own process, right? All of you have your story, your process of evolution. And so part of this is important so that you can document that from the LinkedIn profile that documents your professional experience all the way to some type of a blog where you can share the things that you've experienced so that somebody can get an idea of the skill sets that you may have or the things that you may touch for your passion and your interests. So I think, as part of that, having a YouTube channel, so we will start to work hopefully on some type of a YouTube channel that we could put out. Because I think it's very interesting, right? One of the good outcomes of this class would be an immersive media YouTube channel where we can showcase all of your content that you've produced over the semester. So at a minimum, you can point back to that. Right? Because I don't expect that everybody will walk away from here and have, your own digital footprint. But certainly we want to help you to have your own digital identity tied to some of the things that we can show from the class. So we got about 15 minutes. Oh, go ahead, please.
One caution with your own website, keep up with your security updates.
Absolutely.
Because you get hacked. And
I have.
Down like 200 pages because I couldn't fix it.
So
yeah.
So what she's talking about is this. Well, actually, I don't know if I have one that's still hacked anymore. I had two websites. So one, security, probably one of the best things we should all talk about. So when you do this, if you're owning web pages, if you guys don't change your passwords regularly, if you don't keep some kind of a password manager to have some pretty detailed passwords, at least when it comes to websites and the web hosting, there are people who just go out there and run scripts and hack pages to take them over. And if you're not careful, you can end up with that. Mine, what he said, hacked by Indonesian hackers. And so they'll definitely come and get. So for me, if you have the Media Temple, I just had to go into the core and erase all the code. But you do definitely want to maintain security with your private passwords and all the rest. And the world is getting more and more into what they call two-factor authentication. So I don't know if you guys have seen lately, if you try to go on to certain accounts like Google and the rest, it's going to ask you for two-factor. What's your email? So it's going to ask you for your phone number to make sure you're the right person. So you should definitely, if you get a chance for anything that's important, make sure that you find ways to lock that down. One. Yes.
What's the best way to create your own website?
So I won't say what's best. I'll give you sort of my and I is that Darren? Is that you, Darren? Yep. I don't know if you can hear us, but okay. Sorry. So yeah, that's okay. Good. So we're going to be joined by Darren in just a minute, but so from a website perspective, so my personal preference is owning a domain, hosting it yourself, and using something like WordPress. So that means going to a registrar like 123 Cheap Domains or easy enough GoDaddy, buy the domain that you want, and then they say, do you want us to host it and to use their template? I generally find a host company like Media Temple. You have them host your domain and use a WordPress template that you can control. And then when you get on the page with a WordPress template, you just go in and you put in your password on the web page because you own it, and then you can edit the page right there live. That's what I prefer. You can use Wix, you can use Wix, you could use Squarespace. Those are a few. You could use the GoDaddy hosting if you wanted to. But again, how can I say this? You're using some other company's template and somebody else's server to manage your content rather than your own. And you can always change it. But I may maybe call it a control freak in the technical space. So I generally want to divorce those relationships, right? I want to buy my domains where I want to buy them, transfer them to my own hosting company, and then I want to manage them myself with my own template so I can log in to the FTP server. And if anything happens there, I know that it was my fault rather than somebody else to blame on trying to get it fixed.
So if people go to your website, does that mean that like the revenue you make goes all to you and you don't have to share it with like GoDaddy?
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely. And more importantly, if you wanted to do advertising on a GoDaddy hosted site, GoDaddy controls what kind of advertising you could put on their site and how that widget works with their template. If I have it myself, I can put that Google ad that you saw on my page with my relationship with Google, and I'm the only one who gets paid. Other questions? So I think we'll go to Darren. Let me make sure that I saw him here. He left. Are you talking to Darren?
Yeah, let me see here. Just wait for it.
Okay. I'll see if we can get back in. Other questions sort of on the domains, the web presence, and I'll show you guys, I'll put some of the links onto the document. So just so you know what we're talking about if you don't know.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
For me as a video content creator, I understand the importance of like having all of these social media. But recently I have seen so many other people from different businesses and even like actors create their own YouTube channels. And I just want to, like, I don't get why. Like, for example, Will Smith has his own YouTube channel and he makes vlogs. And I think to myself, why would someone like Will Smith want to have a YouTube channel, you know? So at first I thought it was all mainly for like your own advertising. You have more control over your, how you put yourself out there and people that connect with you. But other than that, what is the value of other people that are from different businesses and different spheres wanting to be very relevant in social media?
So what I would say is, so one of the biggest issues that we have, and this goes back to security, is authentication, right? So if you go out and search for, I was talking to someone the other day, if you search for Jimmy Kimmel, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a site that's maybe a scam, maybe a spoof, maybe not really him. And it's going to download all kinds of stuff because he's a very searched name. So what was important to a lot of talent was that they had a place that was authentically them for the messaging. Because in the Will Smith's case, it's not about the advertising. It's about being the authentic person. So presumably, if you see Will on the thing and the rest, you see him and Jada, it's like, yeah, this is me. This is my site, right? Nobody else will be able to do that. Facebook Live has been another place, right? People are like, hey, look, this is me. It's live, right? You're not Kevin Hart, right? He's going out of, Laugh Out Loud at Heartbeat Productions. Why does Kevin Hart need Heartbeat Productions? Because that's authentically him, and ownership. All that stuff is good, but everything he originates out of there, he owns, controls, originates, and you know that it's him. As opposed to a deal when you go and get a deal in the music business or the TV business or the movie business, generally the company that you work with owns and controls all those assets. And because there are other people there who could possibly speak on your behalf, they want to sometimes
recharge.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, Darren, is that you?
Yeah, this is Darren Bell.
How are you, sir?
How you doing?
I'm good. You are live in our class. I'm going to put you up in just a minute here.
Okay. I'm going to plug in my speaker real quick and I'll be ready to go.
Okay. So it really more is about authenticity rather than the rest. Certainly, if you have the rights to control your own content, then it's about the media. But more importantly, it's that authenticity. And I will stop sharing. And just to give you a quick heads up, so let me hold on, I'll screen share one more time. Darren, I'm gonna do a quick intro here.
Okay.
I'm gonna do what I was doing for the class, so I'm gonna pull you up on LinkedIn because we were just having that as part of our lesson. And
do I need to give you?
There you go. Well, I'm pending to be linked to you, but I get so Darren Bell shows manager community connection program, Chapel Hill, Carborough City Schools, Northeastern University. You're in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and professional with over 20 years of experience in championing development and adoption of transformative technologies, utilizing customer service, engineering, project management, marketing, and leadership skills. Success happens when preparation and hard work meet opportunities. And this gives a little bit of who it is. But again, I want you guys to get used to this is what you, right? When somebody's going to come in or you have speakers of interest, pull up their LinkedIn, check out who they are, get an idea. So that way you sort of have a context on what you might hear, what you might learn, that type of thing. So we were just having a lesson on LinkedIn. Everybody here is going to set up a LinkedIn profile. So I just wanted to show them yours prior to bringing you online. And I will let you now speak for yourself. And so this is Darren Bell. And Darren, you have the class. You can probably see me.
Yeah.
But, this is the class.
Hello.
So you've got about 30 very eager students here in Sylmar, California.
Okay, excellent.
And I gave them a little bit of an idea on the opportunity to collaborate, but would love for you to share with us.
Okay. Like you get an echo?
It was cutting out a little bit. Yeah.
Can you hear me? How's it now? How's the communication? Perfect?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Once again, my name is Darren Bell, and I am a electrical engineer by trade. I design networking equipment, computers equipment to make all this stuff happen. I graduated from college back in 1990, many, many moons ago. And one of the things that when I was in school, though, is that in my class, I was one of very, very few people of, black, brown color in the classroom. And one of the things that, that created challenges and things like that. But it also drove me to where I am today. And that's the reason why I talk about that, is because I like to help promote, and I like to help students, people who have that interest, to really perform and to really be able to chase your interest, because there's always going to be a lot of challenges out there for you. There's always going to be a lot of things that, obstacles for you to overcome. I mean, that's life, and really, like I always said, is that the measure of a man is the way you overcome those obstacles, the way you overcome those challenges. And that's really what I like to talk about. Because now I'm in a role now with the Chapel Hill Carrboro City School District, where I do a lot of mentoring of students. And we actually have a group within the Chapel Hill Carrboro City School District, and one of the schools called Brothers of Unity. And that group is basically a cohort of about 15 students of very, 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 very wide range of social, economic background. But what it is, though, is that they support each other in the different endeavors. And one of the things that, like I said, my thing is that I'm into technology, and I love technology. And what's really interesting, what's really exciting about technology nowadays is that, when I was growing up back in the day, when I was young, you would just take your little camera out and you would videotape yourself or whatever, and you would have to actually mail it to someone or whatever to be able to share who you are, what you're all about. But now with the way social media is, and also the way we have all the innovative technologies and innovative ways of being able to reach people, you could do a lot of the stuff on your own, by yourself, and express yourself in any way you want to. In other words, technology is allowing people to have a voice. We always talk about the people, the voiceless, the people that cannot be heard, but technology allows anybody to have the voice. And that's really what the power of all this, and that's really what some of the things that I do with the students that I work with, is that, the most important thing is, to tell you the truth, is trying to find your voice. The first couple of meetings that we have, the first couple of meetings that we talk about and we share are basically, who are you? What are you? What you represent? And that actually goes back to, and I'm sorry I didn't let you have access to my LinkedIn account yet. I just didn't have time, so I was running around today. But that's part of your voice. LinkedIn. Who are you? How do you express yourself? You could express yourself in a very, very positive way on LinkedIn and on these social media and all this thing, or you could express yourself in a very negative way, but it's in your control. And you could also express the environment around you too. And that's really what I'm working with the students now, is, like I say, is that, what does it mean to be named Brothers of Unity? That could have a lot of different meanings, a lot of different things. But instead of me pushing down on them what that definition is, I'm allowing them to come up with that definition. And we're providing them with 360 cameras. And they're going to go out and just basically capture and work on defining who they are. But also, though, like you say, now they're utilizing media that, a 360 camera back in the day for me was, you had to take 25 pictures going around in a circle. Now you have 360, So now this is an innovation that is really exciting to be a part of, an exciting, technology. When you're talking about 360, you're talking about virtual reality, augmented reality, all these different things all together are allowing people to have a voice. And if you understand how to use a lot of this technology, to be honest with you, you even have a louder voice and a bigger voice. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So one of the things that we were just thinking about as a collaboration was that, I think it would be exciting that for the students over here to work with you guys. And like I say, we have this 360 video technology to maybe capture things for you. We could edit and work together and just try to figure out how we can express ourselves, you know. And what's exciting is that, you know, this is an East Coast, West Coast collaboration, which could be exciting. And just because of that point right there, you know, like a lot of the students that I'm working with, they've barely been out of the state of North Carolina where we are. And it's just exciting to be able to see, wow, there's more to this out there. The world is bigger, but yet smaller than what they believed. So that's what, you know, we're just throwing out ideas and just trying to think about how we could potentially just collaborate and just work together. Now there's going to be time zone issues and things like that, but you know, if you have a dream and you have a want, we could accomplish things.
Just one of the things that I'd love to do is we should set up the Google Drive for the class so we have a repository for content. And
Right.
I think that may be the immediate space for collaboration. We're using a Google document now to document the class as we go through it. Also, it would be good to get an idea of the equipment that's being used. So, you know, I would love to see if we get a whatever 360 camera you guys are using, would love to replicate that. And then what editing software are you using to edit 360 video footage?
We were actually we're partnering working with Mike over at NC State, and he recommended us using Adobe Premiere.
So Premiere 360.
Yes. Yep.
So we have, how many of you guys are Premiere certified? Anybody?
I have it.
Okay. How many of you guys know how to use it, even if you're not certified? All right. We have willing people who know how to use it. No, but I think that would be the next thing to look at would be the editing process for 360 video in Premiere, and then understanding maybe I know Michael's going to have the class. It's here on the 20th, or Dennis, I guess is his counterpart. Derek. And so I guess the class here who goes to that field trip will at least see how to shoot in 360 and have some of those tips. So it may make sense, one, to if you could share any kind of footage or anything you have on just here's the scope of the project, right? Here's the camera you're using. Here's the process we're thinking about using. We'll post that. Maybe we can discuss that next week. And then you guys will have a lesson on that on the 20th. So, and that's right before you guys go on the trip. It'd be great then to sort of figure out, okay, great. You guys, and then that comes back after spring break. So it looks like to me something that coming back from spring break, you'll have footage. We'll have learned a little bit about 360 filmmaking. We come together to come up with a piece or pieces or different ideas, you know, again, looking at different takes of how we can represent this to collaborate on.
Oh, sounds excellent. Sounds excellent. Yeah, we're basically, and this is what's good about this, is that we're basically walking down the street together. And what I mean by that is, you know, we're in the process of learning, developing, defining our environment and things like that too. And that is actually one of the, we just purchased some of the GoPro cameras, and we have them in house now. And next week we're actually going to be unboxing them, going through the process of just learning how to use them, just stepping outside the school and just saying, hey, what do we have here? You know,
GoPro 360s that you're using?
Yes. The GoPro. I'll get you the exact models and everything, but I will basically define or show you and provide you our entire environment that we're going to be using and we're planning on using for all of our editing and for the capture and all that kind of stuff. And then ultimately on our perspective, what we're actually working towards is on May 12th, we're actually going to have what we call it, we're going to call it, it's called the Next Showcase. And the reason why we name it Next, or we coined the term Next, is because it's going to highlight the next technology that's out there. And that's where we're talking about VR, 360, things like that for communication. But it also, we're going to have our students, and they're going to actually partner with other groups within the high school to actually put together what we call creator, facilitators, and ambassadors program. In other words, instead of just being consumers, we're going to show that we are the next creators, facilitators, and ambassadors of technology. So we're going to show that this is the direction that we're heading in. This is the things we're going to do. What would be really cool if we could just talk a little bit about this collaboration that we're doing here. You know, that's what's next. Next, we are basically, because of this collaboration here, potentially, we could actually say that the next generation or the next people using this tech, we're tearing down those walls. You know, we're not just working here in the state here. We're working with people. We could work with people all over the country to create, to be creators, to be facilitators, to be ambassadors of technology. So we have a lot of things that we can do. We have a lot of things. So I really like the idea. We'll just share our environments with each other, and then that'll be the first step, and let us know what we're doing, and then we can go from there.
That's great. And I want to open up for questions.
Yeah, Terrence, I just want to give a little context and background as to how we met Darren. I attended a AT&T Development Lab workshop about 2 months ago at El Segundo, where we're going to be visiting on March 20th, and met one of Darren's close friends named Mike Wallace, who was the instructor. And at that lab, they broke down all the myths, all the things that people were wondering about on how to take immersive media serious enough to be storytellers, as well as leaders in how to use the technology to gain some kind of foothold on where this is going. Because there's a lot of bifurcation, a lot of people trying to figure out how to make it work, how to make money. But at this workshop, they broke down a lot of those myths and talked a lot about forecasts and where we could go as storytellers. So we're really getting some of AT&T's best instruction and design on where immersive media is going. So we'll be able to have that kind of coverage for everything we do in collaboration with Darren. Mike Wallace and the person that we're going to be meeting on March 20th, I met, his name is Derek Allen Rowe. They're some of the subject matter experts on immersive media. So 2D filmmaking, which you guys have learned, meets 3D to 4D. That's what we're going to be experts at. Okay?
Yeah. Again, you guys have any questions for Darren before we let him go? Any thoughts? No? All right. No, I think one of the things that I like to do is once we get that environment, then the goal would be to mirror that, right? So I'd love to, if it's not the next class, the following class, have whatever camera we're talking about here in the classroom, have, Premiere up, maybe have you guys, because really this last hour of the class is really set to be a time where we sort of experiment, right? Lab, look at some content, look at some ideas. So that would be the idea of a format for the next time we come together is have maybe one of these PCs set up with Premiere, have the camera here, a couple of them so that you guys can do it. Maybe have people walk out, do a couple of little videos, figure out how to edit it. But I think it's important for you guys to get your hands on the technology because I don't know. Well, okay. So Darren, question for you. Any idea of the advantage of what 360 brings to the subject matter that you guys have thought about so far, or is that where we are right now? Is what is the advantage?
It brings a that's a very good question, and we did talk about that. One of the things that it brings, first of all, it brings a wow effect, and it draws people in. Okay, and that's step one. But also, it really, if it's done properly, and with a very good narrative story and everything around it, that's the whole point of being immersed in it, is that if it's done properly, you can actually take that person into your world and really bring them directly into your world, and that's really the secret of it all now. And that's really the whole concept when we're talking about immersive technology. That's the difference between, just a pure non-immersive and immersive technology. Immersive technology has you, the only way you can get even more immersive if you're walking down the side of a river is that somebody's squirting water on you while you're walking next to it. You know what I mean? That's really some of the things that really you want to be able to immerse and be able to experience it. And it gets you closer to that point. And what we're finding, especially here in the Chapel Hill Colorado City School District, is that we actually are talking about, just to let you know about immersive technology, we're actually talking about that when kids go on field trips, we actually are thinking about having a pool of 360 cameras available so that students can actually film their field trip, bring it back, and then we will have a depository, basically, of a location on the server where kids who are unable to attend, or let's say somebody's really looking to experience that, have that experience, can actually view it also. So it's almost like the same thing as, if you were visiting Chapel Hill
Mm-hmm.
in the University of North Carolina, I could provide you with 20 pictures of University of North Carolina, or I could take you on a video tour of University of North Carolina, or I could take you on an immersive 360 surround video tour of University of North Carolina. And you see the difference. You can still get, but it just gives you more richness to the experience. It just brings them, it brings more richness to the experience. I guess that's.
I think that's good. I think that, and maybe that's part of the challenge that we look at. There, Kevin.
So, Chris, I had a question. This is for the group. Has anybody not been to a museum somewhere in Southern California? If you've never been to a museum, raise your hand. So everybody's been to a museum. So one of the things we've been talking about is a museum is part of the destination, part of the story that Darren's going to help us connect to. It's a museum that they're going to visit in Washington, D.C. from North Carolina, part of the Smithsonian model. Has anybody ever heard of the Smithsonian? Raise your hand if you've never heard of the Smithsonian. Okay. Well, the Smithsonian has built a new $800 million museum on the mall for African American history. These people that we're talking to now are going to go from North Carolina to Washington, D.C. on a field trip and bring those 360 cameras and capture everything that they can see, touch, well, not touch, see in the museum. And that's part of what I want you guys to be able to kind of understand is if you could ever remember going to a museum, how much more could you get out of the experience if you could actually have no frames, no barriers to what you saw and what you could share?
So I'm going to show you guys examples. So I have a really good friend who's a producer who worked at NBC, worked on the Olympics, and in his spare personal time, he does what he calls urban VR. And so this is a 360 tour of the Toyota Commemorative Museum. And so this gives you a little bit of an understanding of what we're talking about. Right, so that's him. That's Ron. And I am now choosing what I want to look at for where he was. And this is just right now a 360 image. So if you go now to 360 video, and then they have like the floor plan here, the location, the share, full screen. I can look at all the information here, right? So this tells you this is what it is. This gives you the panoramas involved. This now gives you exactly where it is, right? So part of the immersion is right while I'm here in this one photo, I'm getting all of the information that's available. And so you can imagine, and what I want you guys to imagine is, if all that information is available to you in real time, how do you now script a story? So imagine if I were to click on that object and I could find out, where's that object from? What year was it? Why is it important? Where is it, right? Imagine the ability to go deep, right? To add depth. So we're adding surround. The next level is depth in any direction, right? Because right now this is flat, right? I'm in a 2D world showing you 3D. And again, this is just a picture, right? So imagine that scenario in video with narration. Gets pretty crazy because what's happening is there's a narrator telling you a story, but you don't have to necessarily follow the story of the narrator. I know that this is the Commemorative Museum, but maybe I'm interested. There he is right there. Maybe I'm interested in what's behind him. What buildings are those, right? What's happening up here, right? So this is your canvas. I can see down to his hand holding the camera. So now this is your fulcrum point of this image that allows you to think about the story that's there. Just wanted to give you an example of what we're talking about And again, that's just photos. So how many of you guys have seen 360 ads on YouTube? So you guys seen them? So what do you think? What's your, so far, what have you seen the ad for? Cool, not cool, what would you change?
Knott's Berry Farm was it the ghost town, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool. I felt like maybe we were able to just like move around more, walk around, talk to the characters, be more immersive with that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anybody else? Feedback, thoughts about what you've seen in 360 video?
I saw him for a car commercial.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what brand it was, but I mean the concept is like pretty cool. But I guess like the thing I want to do is I'm just like laying down. So I call stuff after like if I want to do something, I get up and I actually move. So
yeah,
the concept is cool, but like just like sometimes I'm not like prepared for it. So other than that,
yeah. No, well, and I would. So when I've seen it, one, I didn't know it was coming, right? So I wasn't necessarily prepared for it. And then there's not any instructions. Like I have the whole world, I can look all around, but what am I really looking at, right? So I think those are some of the challenges of the storyteller, because I think today it's so unique and so cool. People are doing it to do it, and I think the challenge for us is how do we look at the story that this might help us to tell, and how can you enhance the story? And maybe these are some of the things that we can share with Darren and his class and that. So Darren, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, but I wanted to give a little context.
That's perfect because that's what we're trying to we're working on. Absolutely.
So any other? Oh yes, please. Sure. So she's asking if we could use drones as well. So I imagine you could strap that GoPro to a drone.
Let me tell you, a project for next year. It's funny. That's right on point. Here's what's happening. Chapel Hill High School is actually being rebuilt. They're tearing down certain parts of it, certain wings and things like that. So one of the projects for next year that we're actually, or that we're thinking about doing is the fact that strapping a drone to the, strapping a camera to a drone, flying over the high school and taking a really good shot of what the high school looks like now. Then, I think they're going to be working on the school over the next 2 or 3, or actually not 2 or 3 years, but over the next year. And we're going to take shots. And if there was a way, like you say, tell that story of this is the first shot, you're looking around, and all of a sudden you see part of the building going away. Then you see the new wing being built. You know what I mean? So that's part of that storytelling that, I mean, once again, these are all dreams. These are all ideas that we throwing out. So I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, it's not like, we have it all figured out, but basically that's some of the concepts and some of the questions, some of the ideas that a lot of these students are coming up with. They're like, wow, we could do a lot with this. We could do a lot. And that's what's really cool about this. And like you say, that's the reason why, you can only do so much with a picture. You can only do so much with a short video. Now you have 360. Now you can even incorporate some virtual reality elements and stuff too. And it's like the world and the ability to tell that story increases tenfold. And that's really what we're learning as we're doing it. And that's what's exciting about all this is that, like I say, Mike is a leader in all this, and we'll just be talking and it's just brainstorming. And that's what makes this all exciting. Is that more and more people you get together, more and more ideas you have, and hey, let's go out and try it. Let's just see what we can do. That's what creating is all about.
No, I think, and I was just going to bring up for you guys, just so you know, Mike, who he's referring to, is Michael Qualis here. So, and I just pulled up Mike's LinkedIn.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Here, I'll screen share it just so everybody knows. Just for consistency's sake. This is Michael Qualis. So he's creative director of VR360 video design. He's at North Carolina State University. He also has quite a bit that he's bringing to the table
And one of the things that Mike is offering is Lever Studio. If you can point and click on that, Terrence.
Sure.
So he works at the North Carolina State University, but a lot of the students that he teaches, he actually hires, puts them to work, not just giving them a W-9 and tries to essentially make sure that from gig to gig, they get a portfolio so that they can actually get leverage that. So leverage is the name of the studio, but he wants to leverage student work so that they can really propel themselves and get their fair market value. So he'll be working with us. He'll be, again, instructing one of the classes virtually. But, you know, Mike Wallace is definitely one of those guys who has the idea of how to put students in life in real time, in the real world, with real budgets.
So this is the House of Swank, which he has his VR 360, right? So again, more examples, and I'll put links to this in the document so you guys can go back and take a look. But I think that's the core is, you know, to look at all the opportunities. You know, he's got NC State Wolfpack football.
The car commercial, you can just click on that one real quick. That's
the car commercial? Oh, so right now, NC State football, right? None of us are going to be in the tunnel, but there's the picture in the tunnel at NC State as part of the whole piece here. And is this right here? So this is 360 video. Yeah. So it's moving and I'm moving. Right, so he's about to go around this course. So I can see so I'm following him. So I was panning while he was driving. That was a look out of the back window. So pretty crazy, right? I'm steering where I'm looking while the car is moving.
Mind you guys, this is real early stuff. Like a couple years ago.
I think you guys get a general idea. So thoughts as you see that? I mean, so I guess the question that comes to mind is, you know, when you look at that as a storyteller, what do you think some of the challenges are that you're going to face in having to create in that environment? Anybody?
Keeping the audience focused on what you're. I mean, if he's a subject and you got the audience looking over here, you're gonna miss an important part. So it's kind of
right. So what do you think? What are ways that you might imagine that you might do? What are things you might do in your creative process to help the subject know where you're telling the story?
Audio.
Absolutely. Right. What else do you think you guys might do in that direction?
Audio would have maybe someone in the stands or someone kind of directing them like, oh, what's going on over there? So they kind of pan to where the action is.
So other video cues, right? If you notice, they were going from inside the car to outside the car, right? So those were different points where if they wanted to really keep you from going away from what's happening in the car, you switch to the outside shot, right? And then I think, to your point, audio cues, so somebody commentating, narration, and then any kind of visual cue. If you think about, maybe you can highlight something, right? You could have an arrow that's letting you know there's something to the right or something to the left. So these are all that's the next level, right? How can you tell a story with all of those angles?
And as part of the series, we've got a couple of immersive.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dan. We really appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you.
There you go.
There you go. Nice meeting you guys. Looking forward to working with you.
I got to find a way to get a camera I can move in here, man.
There you go.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Is how to make this more immersive. This experience that when we're talking to people, we can share not only our voices, but our faces, our reactions, and anything else, because they'll feed off our energy. But as part of the series, we're bringing in a gentleman named Alton Glass. Is that the 16th?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a gentleman we met through Kevin Hart, who's doing all of Kevin Hart's immersive media. This gentleman is doing VR stuff like crazy. He's working all the gear. But he's going to come in on the 16th and talk about, what he does to make money in this space. But he's an accomplished 2D filmmaker, but he wants to be one of the leaders in taking the tools and being able to show how he's going to be able to convert it into money, leverage. And so we're going to learn from him, where he is in that space of converting all this new technology into money on the 16th. So, this is going to get a lot more exciting because you guys will get a chance to see some of the equipment hands-on. But, I appreciate you guys hanging in there. I'm going to take off now. I've got a meeting with some of your administrators here. But again, thank you guys for joining us. And I hope to see you again next week and every following week.
So I'm just going to make sure that I captured everything from the class here, just to make sure you have everything you need. So assignment for next week, create a LinkedIn profile, review and share some results. I've got a couple of the sample LinkedIn profiles from these folks for you. I will also add mine to the top, so you can do that. Hold on. I put in links to what we saw in terms of the two VR environments that we saw. I'm also, even though I don't. Yes, sir.
For the field trip on March 20th or the 21st, got to have everybody that signed in here. And maybe if we have time, Terrence, they can actually do the Eventbrite. It only takes a minute for them to sign in.
Okay.
So that we can actually figure out what kind of seats we have left for the 20th and 21st. I signed a lot of people for the 20th, but depending on what days people can make, we might make both days.
Okay.
And it's an AR, VR 360 lab at El Segundo at AT&T. Best training you'll ever get.
I'm going to put the link up there. This is the Eventbrite. So this is the link. So I'm going to add this. This is what Kevin was talking about. So that's a field trip link. It's going to be underneath the field trip here on the 20th. So there's the Eventbrite link for you guys to register there for anybody who wants to attend the field trip to AT&T on the 20th. So please do sign up there. And I will leave you guys the rest of the time. Please to fill out, if you're here for LA Mission, fill out Job Seeker before you leave, if you could. Just at least get your name in the Job Seeker profile and the rest for anybody who's LA Mission. And other than that, I'm around for questions or anything else you guys see that I missed in terms of what you guys would need in terms of links. Yes.
My email address, it's Terry Timmy. Can you change it to Gmail because I have the same.
Oh yeah, sure. So Terry Timmy at Gmail? Yeah. Perfect. And I would say if you guys don't have a Gmail account, you probably should just set up a Gmail account so you have one. Just because some of the things that we'll be doing might require you to go into Google to get to Google Drive. It's just much easier to get to Hangout and all that kind of stuff through a Gmail link for that software. Any other questions before we just?
As long as we give you our email, we should be receiving the, I don't know what it's called, like we can view it, right?
Oh, the link to the Google Yes. So one of the things I'm going to do is right after the class, I'm going to put you guys on a class email, and then you guys will all have this Google Doc that I'm sharing here to look at. Cool. Any other questions? Oh, Eventbrite, and the link is here, right there. So that it'll be right here under the ATTL Segundo on the 20th. And so it's Eventbrite, and it's called Humans Virtual Reality. Yep. So I'm going to send you guys all an email within the next. I'll do it before I leave. So I'll give myself an assignment. You guys do the job seeker. I'll send out the team email. Cool. Please.
Is there you said the 20th and the 21st?
This was just the 20th. They have the same one on the 21st. So we're not doing the field trip on the 21st. But if personally you weren't able to go on the 20th, they do repeat the exact same thing on the 21st.
Okay. And then I can get same information.
Same information on this link. Cool. Any other questions? I believe it is 6. Let me click it again just so I make sure I know before I speak out of turn here. Hold on.
No, I just
6 p.m. 6 p.m. All right. No, great.
We have a problem.
Uh-oh. Not working?
Job speaker, you can't really sign in.
You can't?
Yeah, it says select the school, but it doesn't give you an option, just check mark.
You can't select the LA Mission, no?
No, they don't give you the option.
Okay. I'll find out from Curtis. So I'll put information on Job Seeker so you can sign in. So I'll have that. I'll send it on an email.
Do you have any more with
These, yes.
Okay, I'm not going to put somewhere else.
This one's, this is the only one. I said Chris might have some more there.
Oh, how'd you do that? You know, I just put LA Mission in the thing.
Oh, you put it in the, okay, you found out how to do it? You know,
And then you have no more of those kinds of
You put LA Mission in the.
Oh, the Digital Hollywood?
bar thing.
I don't, but I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Here, you can have this one. Let's get a picture of it.
Does, Mark college do that?
Oh, Joshua, I don't know if they do. I know this is set for only for the students here, but we'll find a way to get you guys included.
Thank you. I'll
Terry,
see
thank you so much.
On the 12th.
Yeah, I'll see you on the 12th. Thank you, Terry.
So.
Yay!
It worked? Oh, thank you. How are you, sir?
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly. What is because I'm in medical school. I'm in CPR, and I guess I just found out about this morning. Maybe I show up and it's like this. And I guess what is the end goal of these weeks?
So things we're trying to do is get you prepared to be able to go on interviews for internships, and ultimately then, and also to get the produce content using VR, AR, 360. So there's sort of a two-pronged goal because there's a competition called ATT Shape in June. I would love for some of the ideas that we create here to be able to get us to be able to submit to that.
And then
It's not knowing that that's going to go down, but the other one is really all the internships and things that you guys would have access to. They'll come from the program. So Kevin Hart Studios will be offering internships. Digital Hollywood will be offering internships, paid internships. So those are the two goals that we have: is one, get you guys prepped to get you on at least 3 interviews for particular internships, or if you're already working. And the idea is how to get your own reel, your own content set up and produce some of those.
So would we actually be using 360 cameras and editing in class?
Absolutely. So my goal, because we have content production labs. So the last 4 weeks of the class is all production labs. So when we come back from spring break, here, let me show you here. So we come back from spring break, and starting on May 4th, we do content production all the way through May, and then we present. So literally, there's no more classwork after May 4th. It's all production in class, shooting stuff, editing stuff, having you guys work on all of it here. Okay. So yeah, so my goal is, want to walk you through all that kind of stuff. But man, every week from that part, I want you guys in here, hopefully working in groups and showing stuff that you shot last week, and we'll screen some of it and come up with some ideas and help you guys get stuff that you can have finally in a reel, so that you have credits and all that kind of stuff.
Hey, brother. Thank you very much, man.
Absolutely, my pleasure, man. Thank you for coming up. I appreciate that. All right, man. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you bringing us a lot. No problem. Get a little something.
No, definitely. I got some stuff that you get a part of.
Oh,
I think the information
Oh,
like on point. And then there's going to be a space to actually do that. 3 hours to actually do that stuff. Why wasn't it okay? Talk about we didn't make one.
Oh, that's that's my next step. So the last hour of every class should be that. I want to like demo where I wish I had today. There's a 360 camera. There's Adobe Premiere. Here, let's walk out here. I'm gonna shoot this thing in the class. Stuff. Now here's the video. It's up on a thing. You guys go for Premiere, edit it together, put together what you think. And the last 4 weeks are nothing but that. It's all that. So I'll try to make sure I get the lab part going, because I mean, yeah, like I said, today was really more of a feel out and information and just get people set on the same, baseline. But it's quickly gonna move down to hands on. Man. I want to bring in some VR headsets, all that kind of stuff.
That's it. That's all we do.
Yeah, man. Today, yes. Sure. Oh, yes, that's fine. Oh, and another. So they'll send you a waiver, and then your name will be just added to the list. So I do it's there. Oh, do you have what email address on this? Oh, you forgot to add. You need to create a password. Oh, yes. Just something you can use because that's going to be. I would do something super simple, like you use your name. Like when I do a lot of times, I use exactly my name right there. There you go.
That's true.
We're set up. That's it. No, thank you very much. Oh, you go in and yeah, so we're gonna do this with that guy. This guy, like, you'll be in there with the equipment, and he'll be doing the workshop, hands-on, right? Techniques of shooting, how to use it. My hope is we come back in here, got a 360 camera and Premiere setup. You guys get to get
Why are there so many?
Hackathon is on the so the hackathon, you'll just see what the subject matter is for the hackathon. So I'm learning that one when I go in, so that's at USC, and they're gonna give us, here's all the tools you can use.
That's what inspired me. I made her head.
I saw that.
Oh, no, you should, I don't think that's, we already have a group of people that can do it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. That is coming out. I'm gonna do that before I leave. Is that no? That's it. Thank you so much. With the E.
Yes.
I remember.
And you already shared this on the Google Drive already?
This is all on the Google Drive, and I'm about to share the email for all of you guys in 2 minutes.
Those your glasses?
Oh no, those aren't me. I think somebody may have left them there.
The ones up on top?
Yeah, those aren't me.
I just didn't want,
No.
If they were yours.
Oh no, no, thank you. I think somebody's gonna be missing those real quick though. All right, bye. See you guys next week.
Yes. I don't know how to log out. There it is.
I know. I'm gonna have to make sure I log out of all my stuff too while you're driving.
Well, sorry, it's covered. It's covered. How do I know? Sorry, throw away my stuff. I didn't take so many stuff out.
Is it raining?
It's
gonna be raining till like. So what is the desired job?
What you want to do? What's your job? What you want? What you studying for?
What your major is. And
What is the program for?
That's what you're working on.
That's
your program, your major.
Ours is
Animation and 3D design.
Are you guys doing animation?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
I want to go more into character design.
Oh, really? That's really cool. So one of the VR concepts that I was talking to somebody about is about the character designs in VR, and how that's going to really change, right? And what's the role of the actor in a VR? Take care. Thank you so much.
Mostly you get actors to help bring those characters to life in 3D.
Yeah.
They move the way you want them to move, so the character has that aspect. If you want like a happy, quirky character in like an actual game, you need someone that had those attributes to move around and had to like walk around.
Yeah, the motion capture. Do you guys have motion capture?
No, I don't think so. We have animation.
You have animation. Man, I would love somebody to bring a motion capture.
I know. That would be awesome to have a class like that. Just put on those little balls and just walk around.
Yeah, I would love to do
Play
that. How are you, sir?
I was gonna ask you, are these meetings gonna be like every Friday? Most like, all right, so we're gonna meet every Friday, but we're gonna do other things on other days too.
Yeah. So the other things are more the field trip stuff that doesn't happen on Friday. So that's the USC thing is on a Monday. The 20th, that one for AT&T, I think is on Wednesday or something like that. So there'll be a few other things in between that piece, but this will mainly be on Fridays. And again, my hope is that I want to move this quickly to a place where we're starting to actually get some content stuff in. Maybe one of my next things I'll actually try to bring in some stuff and see if I have some footage. And one of the exercises I have you guys do is pull up Premiere and just put together a quick promo.
Yeah.
Like here's some footage that we have. I might even try to dump this out of YouTube and take the last couple of classes, dump it out, and then say, hey, look, there's your master video. Cut me a trailer for the class on what we learned, something like that. See you next week. Thank you. Yeah, that's really the idea, But a lot of these places that we'll go, I think, are going to be pretty cool. I think we'll get access to a lot of stuff that you wouldn't have otherwise. But I want to also get some people to bring some stuff in here, man. I love the guys to bring Oculus plus the HTC Vive. And then have you guys sort of see the difference between those different headsets. I want to, see some content and then try to get an idea of, what are the tools getting it in there. There's, man, I forget the tool. It's a SketchUp, but it's a tool that allows you to sort of take an object and create that in that 3D space. And I've been trying to look at Maya. Do you know Maya?
No, I don't know Maya.
I want to get one of these.
Maya's there's Maya on the computer.
You got Maya's on it? Do you know Maya? You ever looked at Maya 3D Studio Max?
It's for animation and stuff.
Yeah.
Like for, I don't know how to use that.
You know Premiere though, right?
Yeah, I do. But not not certification level.
That's okay. Yeah. Look, in the end of the day, if you can use a Premiere and you make some content, that's good enough. But I think it's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing what we'll learn over at USC for that hackathon.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of stuff that like this class, I don't even know if I could do it because I already this is like a Friday I took off of work. I went to work early and I got off early to come because I already have my commitment to work, But
look,